Clay Dawson never imagined he'd be scrubbing grime off a warehouse floor at 2 a.m. or monitoring conveyor belts instead of harvesters. His hands were meant for soil, not plastic gloves. But when the drought hit Hardin County, and his crops withered under the relentless sun, Clay had no choice but to look elsewhere for income. The barn mortgage was 3 months overdue. His tractor was leaking oil, and his 6-year-old daughter Emma still needed school supplies, shoes, and bedtime stories. The factory was 30 miles from his family farm, an aging food processing plant that handled boxed dairy products, frozen meals, and anything that could survive on a shelf for 2 years. When Clay first applied, the manager laughed. You're a farmer. Clay nodded. Why the night shift? Clay simply said, because I need the day for my daughter. I'll work hard. I don't quit. That last part mattered, because everyone else had. The night shift was a skeleton crew. Over the past 6 months, nearly all the regulars had walked out, some due to fatigue, others due to burnout, and a few simply never returned. The machines were old, the hours were brutal, and management rarely showed their face after 5 p.m. Clay started slow stacking pallets, hauling boxes, and learning the system, but he was sharp. Where others saw chaos, he noticed patterns. When machines hiccuped, Clay didn't complain. He listened to the sound of the gears, tracked their movements, and logged every irregularity in a notebook he kept folded in his back pocket. His coworkers mocked him. You ain't getting promoted, Dawson. Just punch in and get through the night. But Clay didn't care about promotions. He cared about doing things right. Not because someone was watching, but because he was. After all, when you've been a single father since your wife passed away during childbirth, integrity becomes a daily decision. Each evening, Clay cooked dinner for Emma, mac and cheese, grilled vegetables from what little survived in the garden, or the occasional fried egg. He'd tuck her in with a smile, then drive out under the stars to the factory, his truck rattling like an old song. Around his 3rd month on the job, Clay noticed something odd. It was 3:12 a.m. when a line of dairy boxers rolled past. He spotted a misaligned label. No big deal. But then another, and another. He paused the line for inspection. One box had the expiration date printed a year too late, April 17, 2026, instead of 2025. That didn't sit right. He checked the batch number, then the next box. Same issue. Clay documented them and placed the faulty ones aside. The line supervisor, Tom, noticed just keep it moving, Clay. We can't back up the schedule again. But this isn't a typo, Tom. These are mislabeled expiration dates. Tom shrugged. It's a glitch. Happens all the time. It'll pass QA later. But Clay wasn't so sure. Over the next week, he watched line C like a hawk. Every time the production speed ticked above 180 units per minute, the labels started skewing. Sometimes the machine missed the dates entirely. Other times, it printed the wrong ones. Worst of all, it wasn't every box, just random ones. That made it harder to notice. Clay dug deeper. He stayed late after his shift to examine the software settings, which the supervisor ignored. He found that the inkjet labeler hadn't received a firmware update in nearly 9 months, and the sensors that read date input were misfiring under high-speed operations. Clay didn't know corporate software, but he did know patterns, and this one could be dangerous. What if a spoiled box made it to a store shelf? What if a child drank expired milk? What if thousands of boxes were already shipped out with false dates? He wrote a full report with times, batch codes, and speed logs neatly organized on a spreadsheet, saved to a USB. He submitted it to the plant's operations inbox. No reply. So he went to the night foreman. Again, ignored. You're not paid to worry about labels, Dawson. You're a floor hand. Let QA do their job. Asterisk that night, Clay came home exhausted, but couldn't sleep. He watched Emma, brushing her teeth with her tiny hands, and thought of some other child drinking spoiled milk because no one wanted to pause a conveyor belt. He made a choice. Asterisk, he began collecting evidence discreetly, box by box. He took photos with timestamps, stored samples, kept boxes that were headed for delivery. He logged the exact hours when errors occurred. One night, he caught an outgoing shipment being loaded onto a truck. He recognized the faulty batch code, one of the defective ones. He tried to stop it. Tom, that load has bad dates. I checked the box codes. Asterisk, you tried to delay one more shipment. I'll have you written up. You hear me? Asterisk, Clay said nothing. But he did something else. Asterisk, after his shift ended, he sat in his old truck, with the windows down and the morning sun creeping over the horizon. He sent an email directly to the corporate food safety division. No complaints, no rant, just facts, asterisk attached. Our logs showing labeling inconsistencies online, see based on unit output and software diagnostics. I believe several batches may be at risk of FDA non-compliance. See supporting photos and internal timestamps. I am not a supervisor. I'm a worker. But I wouldn't want my daughter drinking spoiled milk, and I don't think your customers would either. 2 weeks had passed since Clay Dawson sent his email. Nothing happened, at least, not on the surface. No response. No phone call. No acknowledgement. He started to wonder if his message had gone into some void, or, worse, been deleted by a gatekeeping assistant. But then came the third Thursday of the month. That night, Clay drove to the plant. As usual, steel-toed boots, worn at the heel, flannel sleeves rolled up, thermos of black coffee resting in the Q folder. He was halfway through his shift when the unusual happened. Asterisk. 3 men in dress shirts and company badges walked across the factory floor. Asterisk. One of them wore a suit too sharp for a night shift and shoes too clean for the warehouse. The other 2 were from internal quality control. They didn't say a word to anyone. They walked directly to line C asterisk. Machines stopped. The hum that had become white noise to Clay went silent. Workers looked around, confused. Clay kept stacking, as he always did. Then came the announcement over the loudspeaker. All operations paused. Emergency inspection in progress. Asterisk. 10 minutes later, Clay was called to the break room. Waiting there was the man in the blue suit. Corporate. Clay Dawson, he asked. Asterisk. Clay stood straight. That's me. Asterisk. I'm Mark Delaney, head of food safety for Western Region Operations. Asterisk. The man extended his hand. Clay hesitated. No one had shaken his hand since his farm failed. He wiped his palm on his jeans and shook back. Asterisk. You sent us something. A report, photos, data. Clay nodded. You did more than you realize. You just prevented what could have been one of the biggest recalls in company history. Asterisk. Clay blinked. I just didn't want anyone getting hurt. Mark pulled up a chair. We did a full audit. The labeling error you flagged. It affected over 3,000 units per day, across 4 shifts. We traced the issue back 6 weeks. That's nearly 100,000 mislabeled products shipped to retailers across 5 states. And here's the kicker. Wasn't just milk. Some boxers contained allergy-sensitive items. Asterisk. Clay stiffened. Emma had a peanut allergy. The thought of someone like her unknowingly consuming mislabeled food made his stomach turn. Asterisk. We caught it in time. Mark continued. Thanks to you, the following week was a whirlwind. The plant underwent a full shutdown. Technicians replaced sensors and updated software across all labeling units. Training was issued for every supervisor. The inkjet supplier was blacklisted, all because a single man working the night shift decided to notice and care. The next day, Clay received an official letter of appreciation from corporate. Inside was a check for $5,000, a discretionary bonus for his integrity. He stared at the piece of paper for a long time. It was more than he made in 2 months. It could cover his tractor repairs, maybe some school expenses. Asterisk, but he drove to the plant office and handed it back. Asterisk, put this toward night shift healthcare coverage, he told them. Folks here work hard. They deserve more than vending machines and sore backs. The HR director was speechless. Then, another surprise arrived. Asterisk, one Saturday morning, as Emma was drawing chalk flowers on the porch, Clay heard a rumble coming up his long dirt driveway. A large flatbed truck rolled in and parked beside the barn. On it sat a brand new green tractor, shining, clean, efficient. The kind Clay hadn't been able to afford since his father passed. Asterisk. The delivery driver handed him the keys and an envelope. Asterisk. Inside was a handwritten note. Asterisk, for the man who paid attention when no one else would. Thank you, MD. Asterisk. Clay stared at the machine in disbelief. It was better than any award, any bonus. Asterisk. Is it ours, Daddy? Emma asked. Asterisk. He knelt beside her. Looks like someone decided we earned a second chance. News began to spread, not publicly, but within corporate. Asterisk. The factory farmer from Oklahoma became a case study in company meetings. Words like initiative, employee-led safety, and grassroots vigilance were tossed around. Executives began referencing the Dawson incident as an example of bottom-up integrity. Asterisk. A media team asked to do an internal documentary, something uplifting to boost morale. They wanted to put Clay in front of the camera. He politely declined. I didn't do it for a spotlight, he said. I did it because I wouldn't feed something bad to my daughter, and I sure as heck wouldn't let anyone else's kid eat it either. Asterisk.